everyone, and welcome to the 4th episode of SpearCenter of the 2023 spring semester. I am your host, Matt Weiner.
And I'm Isabella Dandoy.
Baseball season is in full swing, and the Spartans have climbed up to second place in the Mountain West and are just one game behind San Diego State. Joining me in studio is Nathan Canilau to analyze SJSU's season so far.
It's baseball season. I'm here with my co-host, Matt Weiner. We're going to talk some Spartan baseball. Matt, Spartans are 15-11. They have a better record on the road. They're 7-7 at home, 8-4 on the road. I mean, what's been the key to their road success so far?
Pitching. At least for the last 2 days, heading into the last 2 wins, it's been pitching. And I think that's, so we're talking about road. When we talk about road in other conferences, it's not as big as a difference as it is in the Mountain West, because we're playing in the mountains. And what do mountains mean? High elevation, a lot of jet streams, and a lot of runs.
And talk about a little bit about how they've built off last season. Of course, they're almost one game away from winning the Mountain West. They come in here and, they're playing their best ball. How have they built off the success from last season? How have they carried it into this season?
I think it's just pitching. And when you're playing in the Mountain West, it's this weird thing where, let's say you give up 7 runs in UNM. Well, that's kind of like giving up 3 or 4 runs at sea level at a place like San Diego State. So when we're looking at the recent success, where SJSU has won 8 of its last 10 games and they've taken their last 3 weekend series, 2 of those were on the road at a place like Nevada. Well, last year when they went to Nevada, they gave up 46 total runs. That number shrunk against Nevada. It was nowhere close to 46. And it wasn't a great first game. I think they gave up 18 the first game, and they battled back and were better the next 2 days, even though things got a little bumpy on Sunday. Now we're looking at UNM, okay? So a rough first game. And now you look back, this is the stat that is huge that everybody has to know about. They gave up 6 runs on Friday and Saturday in their last 2 games. We know Jack Collette had a historic day, and we'll touch on Jack Collette. But it's what Mickey Thompson did on that Friday start. 8 innings, 3 earned runs. That's all you gotta know. 8 innings from Mickey Thompson, 3 earned runs. This is a guy that had a 9.5 ERA last year. Huge improvement.
And we talk about guys like Charles McAdoo, Jack Collette, who just won Mountain West Player of the Week. Right. But who are some of these unsung heroes? You talk about Mickey Thompson. Who are some of these other guys that are kind of been the X factor and who really helped lead them to wins?
I'm gonna go Jack White. I'm just gonna go out the pen. If we're talking about unsung heroes, I think he fits that bill, because we know what Hunter Durow can do. We know what Charles McAdoo could do, right?
Yeah.
And now we're gonna look at a guy like Jack White, who came in and was really terrific yesterday in relief for Aaron Eden. And you're seeing a guy who I believe was a transfer, and is just that bullpen support. It's like that, because the Spartans weren't perfect yesterday, but the big key is that they didn't have 6 errors like New Mexico. New Mexico had a 6th spot in the error column. So that's just part of it, is that you had some unsung heroes, and then they were playing some clean ball too.
And the final thing I got for you, what's the key for them going forward? It's a critical push now. They come back home this week. But what's going to be the critical push for them to get to a Mountain West championship that they hope to get? Bullpen.
They've shown that. I know, because I mentioned Jack White, and he did not have a great outing last Sunday against Nevada, battled back. And then also, I think it's going to be the starting staff. And I think it's also going to be Mickey Thompson continuing it, and then Jonathan Clark. He's had some pretty tough starts his last 2 outings. Once he finds himself back in there as the Friday night guy that we've seen him be, as a guy who could have a top 10 ERA, really before those last 2 or 3 starts, it's the New Mexico, Nevada. That is that key. It's the pitching. Why have they improved? Pitching. How do they keep improving and hopefully win it all and go to that regional? Pitching.
Well, that's our baseball segment for this week. I'm Nathan Canilau. We'll kick it back to Matt and Isabella.
Yeah. Up next is Andrew Hartley with an update on Spartan golf.
Thank you, guys. Now, let's talk a little bit about some collegiate golf. First, let's talk about the men. John Kennedy's team has never finished first in the Mountain West Championship. However, their team is on an upwards trajectory. In 2019, the team finished 9th. In 2021, the team finished 7th. and in 2023, the team finished tied for 6th, and there's no reason to believe that the upward trajectory won't continue this season. The top 4 players from that last tournament have all returned this year, along with the addition, or we can say emergence, of sophomore Zubair Ferdau, who has the 2nd highest average on the team. The top 5 players most likely to be selected are going to be Corpus, Shetler, Styles, Ferdau, and Murata. The spring season has brought a lot of bad onto the Spartans, and by bad, we mean rain delays, wind cancellations, and all of the other bad weather surroundings. However, they have still finished in the top half of these tournaments outside of one tournament, so they have shown they can battle through some adversity. Now, the Mountain West Championships will be in Arizona, so there shouldn't be too much of an outside factor. Maybe it'll be too hot. Sunburn approved after being there today. But yes, the weather should be good for the Spartans and their Mountain West Championship. It's going to be a big task for Coach Kennedy to get their first Mountain West Championship win. But of course, we're rooting for them to do their best. And now we can flip over to the women. Via Galtstat, the 6th best team in the nation, is looking to defend their Mountain West title after a dominating performance last year. Last year, the team was led by senior Natasha Andrea Un, who won the individual title at the Mountain West Championship. However, of course, she was a senior and did not return this season. But it's a good thing that they not only had the 2nd but 3rd place finishers from that same tournament return this season in Lucia Lopez Ortega and Kaisa Arwafal. They also welcome back, now a grad student and 2-time participant at the Augusta National Women's Amateur, Antonia Malati. They also welcome back Louisa Karlbaum, who's been playing her best golf during spring and has already tied for 1st in a tournament this season. They also welcome in freshman and 2-time Mountain West Freshman of the Week, Rebecca Gilner. If there was one thing to be concerned about, it would be that their most recent tournament was their worst, and by a long shot too. Their 3 worst scores of the season all came in that same tournament. However, I personally am not afraid of a team with 2 first-place finishes, 5 top 4 finishes, and a head-to-head win against the defending national champion, the Stanford Cardinal. Coach Dorman's team looks poised to repeat their conference championship status, making it their 2nd in the Mountain West history with the Spartans in it. We wish both teams very good luck on their conference championship runs, and I'll send it back to you guys. Thank you.
Although SJSU basketball's historic season came to the end in the CBI, there are still lots of things to talk about. Joining me in studio is Aikman Fang and Nate Caneylau to discuss Omari Moore declaring for the NBA draft and Tim Miles confirming on Monday, April 9th, that he will be back for next season.
The San Jose State men's basketball team had a historic season. I mean, first postseason win, first Mountain West tournament win, first 20-win season in over 40 years. I'm joined here by my colleagues Matt Weiner and Aikman Fang. We're going to talk some hoop today. Guys, how are you doing?
Great.
Great.
Let's do it.
Omari Moore, we had some news over the weekend. Omari Moore on Saturday announced that he's going to be declaring for the NBA draft. Matt, give us some insight. What went into that? What was going on behind the scenes? And, what does this mean for San Jose State going forward?
Well, so he shared the news with SJSU alum Mark Spears, who writes for Anscape. So that's pretty much Anscape and Mark Spears' scoop.
Right.
I don't know what went on in Omari's camp and that decision, but earlier today, so we're doing this on Monday, April 9th, he and Miles talked hours after their unfortunate loss in the CBI to Radford. Obviously, that was disappointing. But so it's just this empty gym. It's just Miles and Omari here. And they talked about it of just and Miles what do you want? What do you want? And Omari's mind was pretty much made up at that moment. So that's all I could share was that. They talked in his office, just as intimate as we are right here. Miles has a couple couches. One is right here for his seat. And then there's another one that sits about 3 or 4 that leans against the back of it, just like this. And that's where Omari's mind was. And who can blame him?
Aikman, this is obviously, Omari was kind of the heart and soul of this team this year. What does that mean going forward for the Spartans? How did they replace a guy who was the Mountain West Player of the Year?
Heart and soul is a great way to put it, Nate. Omari Moore led the team in scoring and assist, and it's going to be a huge hole to fit. But it's not just him. We also are losing Sage Tolbert. The Spartans are going to have to somehow find a way to reload after losing a good portion of their offense. And like you said, the Mountain West Player of the Year, it's going to be a huge question mark. And throughout this past decade, the Spartans have always lost their top scorer. Amari Mori coming back this past season was, I believe, the second time this past decade where they actually had their leading scorer come back. And without Moore, the Spartans have a lot to fill in offense.
Lots of athleticism being lost with Tolbert being gone, Amari Mori being gone. I mean, Matt, can you kind of just speak to what his legacy here is? He obviously spent 4 years here, was Mountain West Player of the Year, like we just said, but he had a bigger impact, I think off the floor as well. Can you talk a little bit about his legacy here at San Jose State and what he'll be remembered for?
Right. I mean, it's the closest we could get to statue status, I guess, for like what he did. I don't know how else to put it besides statue status, and like obviously that's a big exaggeration, but okay, we have hanging his jersey. That's the best way to put it. When he came to San Jose State was the only school that offered him, and they offered him July after his season at Pasadena ended. He went to Middlebrooks Academy, comes to SJSU, went through 3 awful seasons. Like, let's be honest, they were bad seasons. He stays loyal to Miles, and then we have history. So yeah, now we're just waiting like, okay, when is his statue, that'll take a while, but like, when is his jersey gonna get hung up? When are you gonna see more 10 in the rafters? Now we're just
waiting. And another big piece of news we heard this morning that you broke, Tim Miles is gonna be returning for his 3rd season as San Jose State men's basketball head coach. Talk to us about what kind of went into that decision. I know he had some interest from Cal. There's some rumblings about Utah State, but he decided to come back to the 408 and really wants to. It looks like he wants to cement his legacy here. Talk to us about what that means for San Jose State and what that means for Tim Miles going forward.
I mean, let's be honest, that wasn't a break of news. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say that. Like, okay, Omari, that's breaking. Tim, because our interview was really just, and there will be a piece on that, but our interview was really just about, okay, how is he gonna adjust to NIL? So that was not break. I'll be honest, I didn't break anything. That wasn't that surprising. But I'm curious, Aikman, I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, for San Jose State and for Spartan Nation, it was a huge sign of relief having Tim Miles coming back, especially with the question mark of how the Spartans are going to replace Amari Moore. We are going to have to dive deep into the transfer portal and find some new recruits. And with Coach Miles back, it actually helps us a lot.
And obviously, Miles being back, you have Alvaro Cardenas presumably back. You have a lot of pieces coming back to this team. I mean, what are some of the things that we talked about the holes they need to fill? I mean, what are some of the things that they need going into next year? You have Miles, you have Cardenas, but what are some of those other spots that you obviously need to compete again in the Mountain West next season?
It's a good question, because you can't just go out and say, oh, there's my Omari Moore, oh, and there's my Sage Tolbert. Thank you, and that's it. You're probably gonna have to find a way to make up that 17 points. And also, Omari's a great defender. Like, he's always on another team's #1, and that is why the Spartans have won and gone on this incredible tear, just unheralded tear. So how are you gonna find that? That's the question, is maybe you make some of that up by having guys who are just 3-and-D, just great 3-point shooters. The Spartans finished with the 2nd worst 3-point percentage in the Mountain West. Maybe that's where you look. 2 of their guys that they signed are guys from Europe, really tall, big, and can shoot the 3 a little bit.
That is our basketball segment for this week. Thank you, and we'll kick it back to Matt and Isabella.
Thank you, guys. We'll continue to follow all things Spartan basketball here at the Spear.
The San Jose State softball team defeated the Colorado State Rams by a score of 5-4 for the series opener on April 6. Redshirt senior Alyssa Graham continued her dominance as she hit a homer in the first. She leads the team with 7 homers so far this season. Another run was also scored by redshirt senior Adriana Noriega in the first inning. As the game progressed, San Jose was down 3-2, but junior utility player Ashley Rico was able to acquire 2 runs for the Spartans. Redshirt senior Janessa Ulege also hit a homer while simultaneously getting 3 RBIs for the Knights, put the Spartans up 5-3. Colorado State had the bases loaded at the end, but sophomore pitcher Ashley Goard had other plans as she struck out the Rams to win the game. San Jose finished with 5 runs, 6 hits, and 2 errors, while Colorado State finished with 4 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error. The next series will be against Fresno State this Wednesday on the 12th at 12:30 p.m. in Fresno.
All right, that is a wrap for us here at SpearCenter.
Be sure to follow at the Spear SJSU for all things SJSU sports related.
I am Matt Weiner.
And I'm Isabella Dandoy. Thank you and go Spartans.